wherein a few students from different sections attended the test, and these are the scores that they have achieved. So basically, when we go to the count function, how do we actually get started with the count function? So we first and the foremost thing, the rule, that is the equal to sign, then go to the count. Now when you hit the count, type the count, you can see that there are so many options that Excel is automatically providing. So one thing is that if this is the selected one, you can just hit the tab button and the function gets automatically applied here. Or else if you want to do it in a different way, you can put the count button and double click on the function. Now, what is they asking? They are asking for the arguments over here, that is value one, value two. So basically, here you can actually drag amount of actually drag the cells, or you can individually select like doing this, then hitting the comma, then hitting comma like this. So there are two different methods. So I personally like to drag things. So I'll drag this and hit on the enter button. So what have we got? There is 9, right? So why is the count function showing 9? So basically what the count function does is that it shows that whether this cell has any number, right? So I'll just go there and count that one. I'll just see one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine. So basically there are 9, right? I'll just delete this entry, and you can see that it changes to 8. So the since I use the references of the cell, so it changed to 8 because this cell doesn't have a number. So that's the main function of a count function, that it counts the cell wherein the number is there. Now coming to the sum function, we have equal to sum and hit on the tab, and they're asking like the same, they're asking for arguments. You can individually select the number. I'll just go and drag the cells within the range and hit on the enter button. So basically this is the entire sum of the scores that the students have achieved. Now coming to the max function. So now as a faculty, you might be very much curious to know which student scored the maximum mark, or something like that, right? So in order to find that, you can go there and hit on the max function. They're asking for arguments. Do the same, click on the range and hit on the enter button, and you can see 90 is the maximum mark that the student has achieved in this test that was conducted. And for the minimum, go to minimum equal to minimum. You can see that I'll use the double click method this time. Double click on the function, go there and drag on to the uh, range of cells that you want to do, and hit on the enter button, and you can see that 64 is the least mark. Now since I have already told that since I'm dragging the entire thing and using it in the formula, it is by default using the cell references. So if I go there and change the value of 85 to 83 63, now let's go there and understand. See, now you can see the sum changed and the minimum also changed. So that's how dynamically using cell references actually helps. So I'll just undo this for a while. All right. Now let's go back to our presentation. And now we are going to take the next two functions, that is average function and if function. So average function is returning the average of its arguments, and if function is the logical function which displays user-defined output according to the condition. So basically, if you are a computer science student, if you have some computer science background, you might know if else loop, if state, if loops, right? So the same works in Excel as well, right? It's a logical statement, logical function. So let's understand this on the live workbook, right? Now, if you have to, the first thing that you have to do is hit on the equal to button, go to average, hit on this average button, and they're asking for arguments. I'll click on the range of cells that I want the average for, and I'll hit 78, right? So 78 is the average score of these students that have attended this test. Now that's how you calculate the average. Now I'll be doing a if condition. So I want to understand that if they are asking the logical test, right? If the average, selecting the average. If the average of the students who attended the test is less than 75, then they are asking if this is the logical test. So basically, the logical test is the condition that you are giving to the Excel and making them understand that if the average I have selected through cell reference, that is C18. So if the average is less than 75, then they are asking for the value if true. If this condition is true, they want us to enter something that we want to see as output, right? So I am telling that if the average is less than 75, the students can do better. That is CDB, can do better, right? Now I'll be hitting the comma again, and now they are asking me for the value if false. If the average is greater than 75, I'll put double in double quotes good performance, right? And I'll click on the enter button. See, now what actually happened here is the formula you can see over here. The average of the students who attended the test was 78, and 75 is greater than 70. 78 is greater than 75. So what actually happened? This is the true condition. The true condition wasn't applicable here. So what happened? Since it was a false condition, this got printed over here. So it was a good performance. So basically, the if function printed out the good performance. Now I will show you how the average changes. Now I just go to the Ram's mark and change it to 60, right? Now I'll click on the hit enter button, and now you see that when I hit 60, the average became 74.66, and that is less than 75, obviously, right? So what happened here is, since C18, that is this cell 74.6, is that is the average of the marks. So that is actually less than 75. It went to the true condition. So the true condition was CDB, that is can do better. So the performance of the students could have been better if they had prepared well. So that is the condition that I had applied for, right? So that's how if function works. So now let's go ahead and understand the next four functions, that is concatenate. No, no, we'll understand the concatenate function for now, and then we'll move ahead with the countif and sumif. So the concatenate function, if you have a computer science background, it's basically attaching the two texts or anything like so. I'll see this concatenate function like here under this table, they want the full name, and I just don't want to copy Raj here and then again copy Kumar here, Control C and Control V. That's a hectic task for me. So what actually I did is I told Excel to concatenate the Raj, the name Raj, and then comma, and here the cell Kumar, and I hit on the enter button. Now what actually happened? Both the values in the two cells got concatenated, got attached. But what is the issue is that the first name and the last name does not have a gap in between. It doesn't look good, right? So I'm telling Excel that, okay, concatenate both the columns with a small space in between. So I put two double quotes and hit a comma, right? Now I went and hit the enter button. Now you can see that it's very clearly visible that Rajkumar is concatenated. That is the full name we have got using the concatenate function. So if I had to copy the entire thing down, you can see that automatically entire names, the full names of all the people got here. Now you might be wondering, the concatenate function only works within the text only. No, the answer is no. So basically concatenate function also works for numbers. So I'll hit a comma, give a small space in between, and I will go and click on the score that the person has achieved, right? So I'll hit enter, and there you go, 78. And I will now copy this formula now to all the rest of the rows, and you can see that we have the full name of the student, and also we have the 78, that is the score that they have achieved, right? Superb, guys. So now let's move ahead to our presentation. Now we have come to the last last three functions, that is the COUNTIF, SUMIF and the drop down list. So basically these three functions are conditional operators. So countif function counts the number of cells according to the criteria provided by the user. SUMIF it values of the cell within the range according to the criteria, sums of the values, and the drop down list is also a conditional operator that is basically dropping down the things that we want it to be in a data validation, right? Now, in order to understand, this will be easily understood when you actually look into the example, right? So let's move ahead with the example. If you guys have any doubts, please do put it in the chat box. So the COUNTIF button, let's move ahead, COUNTIF, there you go, and hit on the tab button. It's asking for a range. So I'll keep the range as here, and it's asking for a I put a comma and it's asking for a criteria and I'll put criteria A. Okay. Now, I'm pretty much sure you guys didn't understand why I did this, right? So the countif function, basically, they have asked me to put in a range. So I took this as the range and I put the criteria as A. So what am I actually trying to find out here is, I'm trying to find out the number of I'm taking the data set, the entire data set, and they have beautifully arranged the which and all students came from which and all section. So as a teacher of section A, I wanted to know how many of my students actually came and attended the test. So that's what actually exactly I'm doing. I'm counting the number of students who came to attend the test from my section. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm calculating the range. In the range of the entire students who came to attend the test, how many of them are from my section, that is section A. So that is the thing. First, I put in the range, that was the section, that is the data set, that was the amount of students who came to attend the test, and the criteria was my section. And I'll go ahead and hit enter, and there you go. There are three students from my class that attended the section. That is one here, and then two, and then three. Sachin, right? So three people who attended. Now for the students or the faculties who are teaching in the B and the C section, if they want to know, just copied it down, and you can see that B section there are four students, and C section was there are only two students, right? If you want to cross check B here, one, two, three, four, and C is just two people, that is Megha and Karthik. Right. I hope you guys have understood what is the use of COUNTIF function. Right. Now, let's understand the SUMIF function. Okay. Now, I'll go here and hit on the SUMIF, hit on the tab, and here also they are asking me for a range. So, I'll hit on the range this time here. Right. This this is my range, and there. Okay, 1 minute. Okay. This SUMIF. Yeah, I'll be clicking on the range, hitting a comma. Then they're asking more for me for a criteria. I'll use the same criteria, A and comma, and I'll be using the sum range. So basically, I'll do here the sum range is here. Now you'll be thinking, what am I doing here now? So basically, we have counted the number of students that came from my section, that is the A section, and attended these tests. Now what am I doing here is I am calculating the total score of the three students from my section. So basically, three students came and attended the test, and I wanted to know what is the total score that these three people scored in the test. So I am basically telling Excel to check that go in within the students who have attended the test, that is the range. I want to know that from my section, how many people attended and what is the sum of or what is the total that these three people have scored, right? So I gave the range as section, I gave the criteria as my section, and gave the sum range as that you need to pick up from this range who and all are from my section and add it off. So when I did this, you can see 239. Now, if you want to cross check, we have already created a sum over here, right? Now I'll just go there and edit the formula. Now I'll just cross check here, sum. Here there is Kumar right? Kumar from A section. Then we have Baby from Sachin from A section, and then we have Anthony from A section, Lily Anthony. Yeah. And there you go. See, the sum was also calculated and they are showing it's 239. And that's exactly what I did here. Instead of calculating, selecting each and everything individually, if the data was so long, you will take so much amount of time to do this, right? If there are hundreds and thousands of data of students from different A, B, C sections who are attending the test, it will be difficult to understand that how many students were attended the test and what is the sum that was calculated, right? So this was the total. Now, if I wanted to copy the formula, you can see that 288 is the score that the four students from B section got, and 145 is the total score that the two students scored out, right? So that's how you use the sum function. All right, guys. So now coming to the last function that we'll be discussing today, that is the drop-down list. So basically, drop-down list is basically used for data validation. Now, if I had to go, see, I'll just directly show you the practical application. I'll just go to this, click on this cell where I want the drop-down list to be, go to the data option, click on the data validation and see allow any value. I'll just put on the list. Okay, I'll put on the list and click on the OK button. Okay, I need to click on the source. So basically I'm telling the Microsoft Excel to use a particular amount of list. So I'll go to the list and I'll tell that please take the list of the names of the students over here, and I'll go back here and click on OK. Right now what is happening, I can click on Sachin, I can get on the different. So if in a business organization, if you have any particular tasks that has been assigned to different individuals, you can go there and first list down and the entire amount of tasks, that is social media management, marketing, sales, then operations, and you can just tell that which operation was done, and you can just select down and create a drop down list. Now another different way of using a drop-down list is by using it with the other conditional logical operator. Now, if you use SUMIF, I forgot to put the equal to sign, so always put the equal to sign. SUMIF, click on the tab, and they're asking for a range. I am telling selecting the range as the names of the students. I'm hitting the comma, and they're asking me the criteria. Now what I'm using is I'm using a combination of drop down list and the sum if button, right? So basically I am choosing the criteria as the drop down list. What is the drop down list having in it, right? And then putting the comma and telling the sum range as this. Okay. All right. Now I am going to hit the enter, and if you guys have understood what is going to happen, well and good. If you guys have not understood, no worries. Everyone is a beginner, and I'm going to enter the enter button, and you can see 76. Now, now what is 76? So basically, 76 is the score that Sachin, Sachin had scored. So what actually happened is when we use the combination of COUNTIF function and the SUMIF function, the drop down list function and the SUMIF function, it showed a good way of getting what Sachin had scored. Now, if I go ahead and change it to Mega, you can see that the score has changed to 69, right? So that's how you use drop down list and conditional operators. Okay, now I'll go and change Lily. You can see 85, and you just have to cross check here. It's 85. All right, so superb. So that's how you use a function, that is drop down list, and a conditional operator to get in what you have. So, yeah, so that's all about the session, guys. So, I think I have exceeded the session by 5 minutes. And if you guys have any queries regarding Excel, please do put it in the live chat box. I'll be waiting here for 2-3 minutes more, and we'll be clarifying your doubts. Sir, PDF मिलेगा. So basically, I don't have the PDFs right now with me, like the Excel sheets. You can actually go to our live GLA Academy. You can go to the GLA Academy site. You can just click on the GLA site, GLA free courses, and you can find a huge amount of different sites like courses that you can get. You can get the Java programming, Excel for beginners. That's a big course. Then you can get here. You can go and check out the management courses. There are machine learning, data science. So there are so many things that you guys can actually venture into and study. There are courses in Hindi as well for the students who prefer Hindi over English for better understanding, and there are IT and software, machine learning, artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, cloud computing, management courses. So these are the different things, and we also have we also have PG programs in Great Learning Academy, wherein you guys can do pretty well. In that also, you guys can enroll for the data science and machine learning courses as well. It's your choice. What is your field of interest that you are? If you're interested into management, we have management courses on our Great Learning PGP courses, that is online MBA, and we also have Career Boost, that is for particularly for college graduates who want to learn it, who want to venture into the field of programming. There are Java programming courses. So you just have to go to Great Learning Career Boost website, and you can see the different courses that is getting being offered, right? So all right, guys, I think you guys are pretty much clear, so I can't see any questions over here. I'm happy to see that there are 73 people who are live and watching the video. Right, all right, guys. So superb, guys. I had a very wonderful session with you guys. Um, yes, Arun, the YouTube will be uploaded on YouTube after a while. Okay, guys. So since we have already exceeded our time, let's finish and end this session. Thank you for being a very active and patient listening audience, and I hope you had an enjoyable session. Thank you. Visit again. Visit our all the live session that is coming up. We have a huge lot of live sessions that are aligned for you guys. Okay, so thank you. I'll be back with another session soon.
Okay, hello everyone. This is Victor Momo from Excel Moments, and in this video, I want to talk about the brand new, yes, the brand new text split function. I know I'm 3 weeks late to the party, but as they say, better late than never, or should we say we've saved the best for last. Okay, we've never had, a native split function in Excel. We've always had a split function in VBA. You could do this in, Power Query. Well, you could do text to columns, but we've never had a function, that could just help us split by delimiter. But the wait is over. Now we have the text split function. Although it's only available to Office insiders, but hopefully shortly we should have it available to I'll say the entire Office 365 subscribers. Okay, so let's get into, how the function works. You probably already know this is really just text columns with a formula, but I'll show you some examples. Okay, so this is the text split function, and I've kind of listed here the arguments. The text, of course, is the string that contains the delimiter. Column delimiter, if you want to split, across the columns, what's your delimiter? If you want to split down the rows, what's your row delimiter? In cases where maybe you have consecutive delimiters and it gives you an empty, I would say it produces an empty cell and an empty string, you want it to skip it, ignore, or just leave it. Now for pad width, there could be cases where you split and you're expecting like 5 entries. One of the rows may have maybe 4 entries, and then it returns an NA, on that row saying that, oh, I can't find the fifth entry I'm supposed to have. You want it to show NA, or do you want to replace it with a different text? More like what you would do with if error, if NA. But you would understand it better when we do an example. Okay, so we'll call text split up just to see how it looks like and exactly what I described. I know I've stated here that column delimiter is optional. But if you look at, the function tooltip here, you can see that it doesn't have square brackets. So it appears like, it is required. But the idea here is that one of the column delimiter or row delimiter is required, right? So you can't have both of them not giving any entries, right? You must provide something for one of them. So you could provide for the column delimiter, skip the row. You could provide for the row, skip the column. So I would say that, at least one of them is required. So that probably explains why column delimiter is showing up as required here. But you can skip it and use only the row delimiter. Let's look at an example quickly. I could just select this cell, if for example, and I want to split by an underscore. Okay, so what this is saying is that, split this by an underscore across the columns, right? Let's see what it gives you. So it gives you row and then gives you delimiter. So what if I wanted it to go, down the rows instead? What I'm going to do is that instead of putting it as the column delimiter, I just put a comma. The comma skips the column delimiter argument, and now, I'm in the row delimiter, right? And you see splits, down the rows. Very easy. So let's get into the examples, simple examples, I would say. So here, this is an example where you have a consistent delimiter. So you have a pipe separating, all the different elements here. So simple. Just do text split, select the text, put your pipe here as your delimiter. That's all, right? Take that, down and you have everybody. Okay, so now you can see split across, all the columns. Of course, it's a spilled range, so the formula really only sits in the first column. You can see the rest of them are pretty much grayed out, and you can see the blue borders showing you that. Next one, multiple delimiters. Okay, this is a case where you don't have a consistent delimiter across, but you have multiple delimiters. So you can see if you look at the employee ID and the first name, you see a comma and a space between the first name and the last name. That looks like a comma between the last name and department. That looks like a pipe. So what you do is you can use text split, same way. You select the text. When you want to use multiple delimiters, you go curly brackets, and then each of the delimiters in double quotes. So you go with curly brackets. First one I see there is a comma and a space. Next one I see there is a comma. Last one I see is a pipe. Okay, so then, sorry, close with the curly bracket, and then you can close this. Pretty much, right? And then you can see all of them are done, right? Okay, so now you have your employee ID, first name, last name. Yeah, you can just take this up, just so that you have the headers too, right? That's fine. Okay, I think it's also important to note here that the order doesn't necessarily matter, right? That even if you had put pipe first before comma space, it will still work. Let's see that. So instead of putting pipe at the end, so what I'm going to do is here where I have comma space, I'm going to put my pipe there, right? Then here I'm going to do comma space. Let's see if that still works, right? Okay, so still works either way. So it's really just about providing all the delimiters, not necessarily in the order in which they appear. Okay, so next example, this one combines, splitting into rows and columns, so at the same time. So what do you notice about this here? Even though you can see that if you go, from let's say left to right, you can see that it's split by a space, right? There's a space between the first name, last name, and then a space between that and the department. But now you also notice that, yeah, you have a delimiter too between the rows. And what's that delimiter? That's like your new line, right? Okay, so because you can see that this is all in one cell. But what I want to do is actually to break it into, multiple rows. So I want to break it into, 3 columns and then each of them into multiple rows, right? So that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, so straight up here, I go to text split, right? And then I select the text, that's just this cell. Now, in terms of my column delimiter, column space will help me break it, into the column. So I'm going to put a space here, right? Then my row delimiter, which looks like the tricky one. But you know that when you do like new line within an Excel cell, that's really just your character 10. That's your delimiter, right? So I can just put character 10 in there. All right, and then I close the brackets. Let's see. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, did V. Okay, so now you can see we have what we want. Let me scroll down a little. right? So you can see now that we have them in multiple columns and multiple rows. Okay, so now you have first name, last name, department, and then you have all of them split. So this is really, really great. Like you can split into rows and columns with just one function. Okay, so now let's do something a little different, but still building up on the same idea. But here, this is a case where I have multiple delimiters across, the columns. So you can see that between first name and last name now is a comma, and then there's a space. Okay, and then I'll still use character 10. So it's really like the last example, just building off it. So I do text split. I select this. Now for multiple columns, so you know how I do that, right? I'm going to use a curly bracket. Okay, I'm going to start with maybe the comma. That's the first one I can see. Now the next one is a space. Okay, so I close my curly brackets. That's it for the column delimiter. Okay, then for the row delimiter here, I'm going to use same thing, character 10. Right. Okay. Okay. Now, yes, things have started to fall apart, which is good, right? Because I said, oh, okay, it was a comma. But you probably noticed that, oh, maybe it should actually have been like what? A comma and a space. But now the problem here is that it's just so inconsistent, right? So look at this now. This one actually had a comma, a space. Here, this one had a space, a comma, so it's just all over the place. So at this point here, this is where it's really supposed to just be three, right? It's supposed to just be three columns. Okay. Now you can see some of them, are now having some empty, cells there. So this is where the other two arguments, now come in handy. So what are those two arguments? Okay. So I haven't used any of them before, which is like what? Ignore empty. So for ignore empty, if you actually don't provide anything for ignore empty, Excel defaults it to false, which is it includes empty cells. Okay, so in cases where I said, oh, okay, split by a comma, split by a space, it will see a comma, it will split. If the comma and the space are together, then for the space, it doesn't see anything. So it's just going to return an empty cell. So to avoid that, I could just say, do a true here, right? So which is like ignore empty cells. That's one part of it. So if I do that, you can see that, okay, now, yes, it's fixed. So when I have consecutive delimiters, it's still able to handle it. Of course, the easiest way to have solved this problem is to really use the correct delimiter. Instead of using maybe comma and then a space, you probably need comma space. I think that's probably the appropriate one here. But it's really all over the place. But the good thing is that, that argument can help you. But now you also have some other problems, which are like the NAs that you see here. So you see some NAs. So why do we have those NAs there? So let's look at one example. This is Clint Eastwood. Now, he doesn't have any department, right? So that's the problem here. Same thing with Akuna Obi. She doesn't have any department. So because it's supposed to split and see, three columns, it's seeing two. Now it gives you what? An NA. So how do you fix that? Okay, so somebody else may just say, oh yeah, just do if NA and say if NA, meaning if it returns NA, show maybe no data, something like that, right? That's going to fix it. Okay, so that fixes it. But you don't have to do that right now with text split can take care of that. Okay, so what does text split have? Text split has an argument which is called pad width. So more or less like if it returns, an error. So what do you want me to do? So here I will just say no data found, just to create that distinction here. Right, so let's go down, see. So you can see no data found, no data found. So that pretty much is the way you use, the remaining, I'll say, two arguments, which are, whether you want to ignore empty cells and how to use the pad width. So I think this was a good example to kind of buttress, that point. The last one here is just an interesting one where, just decided to go a little funky, okay, which is a little stepping out of the text split a little. But what if I wanted to get like first and last names here? Now, the point here being that some people have first, middle, last. Some people have just first and last, okay? So essentially, I know I'm going to go with text split, right? Okay, and then here I'm going to say split by a space, right? That's it, okay? But now the challenge is that if you take this down, yes, this can be funky. So let's do this, right? Okay, so you can see that Some of them have just first and last name. But what I want is that I want to return here Pacquiao. Here I want to return, Goldmeyer, Johnson. Anybody that has three, return three. Anyone that has two, return the second one. Okay, so now it's not exactly straightforward using the text split, but for the first part of it, of course, one could easily have used left, right? But what I could do on one hand is to use maybe index, okay? Because I know that this is an array, it's going to spill, or however it spills, just give me the first one, okay? So this should work for first names, okay? So this should work for first names. I think the tricky one is now for what, the last name. And I'm just trying to say, I just want to use text split. Maybe I did some other functions, text before, text after, but I don't want to touch them. I want to just see, what it is I can do. Okay, so for the second one, what I'll probably do is this. I know that text split, is going to split into a couple of columns, and then I can count the number of entries. If it gives me 3 entries, it means that the person has 3 names, right? Okay, so then what I need is, when you split by a space, give me in quotes maybe that entry. If it has 2 names, then give me that entry. So what I'm going to do is this. Just check this out. I'm going to do maybe like a count A of the text split. Okay, so that's like saying count when I split by a space, right? So you see what that gives us. So those that have 3 gives us 3, those that have 2 gives us 2. Okay, so good. So now this would feature in my index. So I can do an index, and the index is going to be, you take the text split, same text split, you split it by a space, right? So you know that this is going to spill the 3 names. Okay, then from these 3 names, what do you want? Whatever, the count A is. If it's 3, then it means that, I want the third. If it's 2, then I want that. So pretty much something like this, and then I take it. Okay, so and now you can see here, even though I have 2 names, it's returning, of course, the surname. Here where I have Wayne Macaroni, it only returns, Anyway, this is me just trying to show you, how the index function can also be used to retrieve individual elements of, the text split, which gives you an array. I know this video was maybe longer than I intended, but I'm sure it must be worth, your while. There's still 13 other functions to cover, and we will get there. But I hope that you've had fun with this one. Um, if you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Excel Moments. For now,